Victor here with a brand new video. In this video, I want to focus on the fights that will be going on tomorrow night in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, we just had a couple fights a couple nights ago, UFC 249. It was an epic success. Everything went really well. The fights were awesome. And I do hope that the fights tomorrow are going to be awesome as well. Now, for the main event, we have Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. Now, both of these guys are contenders in the light heavyweight division, which just happens to be the most stacked division in all of the UFC, or at least one of them, just because there are a number of stacked divisions that the UFC has. There's a lot of interesting things between both of these fighters. Anthony Smith and Glover are both ranked in the top 10. Anthony Smith is trying to get himself back into the title contention picture, and so is Glover as well. Glover has won 3 or 4 straight since his last loss to Alexander Gustafsson, and Anthony Smith's last win was against Alexander Gustafsson himself. So both these men are definitely flying high, and they're trying to get back into the title picture against John Jones, depending on what his situation looks like in the near future. But I just want to go over this fight and how I feel about it and who I think has the upper hand or whatnot. And I'm just going to go ahead with some of the similarities between the both of them. Both men have 35 plus fights in their respective careers. Both of them have fought some of the best in the light heavyweight division. Both of them just happen to be black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And both men have a lot to lose and a lot to gain, especially coming in tomorrow. Glover does have a little bit of a disadvantage just because of his age. He is in his 40s now, and there's not that many fighters out there in the UFC or even in boxing that are competing at the age of 40, just because that is a little bit of a rarity. Your body is usually in its prime and around your mid-30s, and then as you start aging and getting close to your 40s, that's when your body isn't really the same anymore, just because of all the beatings that it's taken in the past, and now it's starting to show up, and all that wear and tear is starting to present itself more often than usual. So Glover is at a disadvantage at that, but it doesn't mean that he's still not dangerous. He's fought some of the best, and I just recently watched his fight with Ion Cutelaba for the second time. Ion had him in a lot of trouble, but Glover was able to ride his wave back into the fight, catch a second win, and submit Ion Cutelaba with a nice comeback victory. Anthony Smith, ever since he got into the light heavyweight picture, he's been doing phenomenal. He only has one loss in that division. That's against John Jones, who is the champion. John Jones, who hasn't even lost a fight in the UFC. He did have a loss, but that was a disqualification, so I don't really count that at all. But still, Anthony Smith's been doing good ever since he joined the light heavyweight division. He came up from middleweight, where he wasn't really doing that hot. I guess you can say that he did lose to another light heavyweight, which happens to be Thiago Santos. Both of them did meet each other in middleweight, but that was back in middleweight. This is light heavyweight now, so no, that was all in the past. But I gotta give Anthony Smith the upper hand when it comes to his hands. He does have some really good boxing, and he does have some power as well. Glover Teixeira does have some power, but I can't say it's really on par with Anthony Smith's. Anthony Smith's knocked out a tremendous amount of guys, and one of his nastiest knockouts was against Mauricio Rua back in Germany a couple years back, 1 or 2 years ago, which really propelled him onto the light heavyweight scene. He really cut him out with some nasty elbows, and he knocked him out while he was still on his feet, which was insane. So after seeing that fight, that just kind of showed everyone the amount of power that Anthony has, and he's not a guy to be messed around with. When it comes to the BJJ, I gotta give it to Glover Teixeira. He obviously knows a lot about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's even displayed a lot of his skills in his fights in the past with countless submission victories that he's had under his belt. Anthony Smith's definitely one of the most underrated BJJ black belts that the UFC has to offer, just because we haven't seen him submit that many guys that time and time before, but he has shown that ever since he moved up to light heavyweight. He submitted Volkan Uzmir, and he also submitted Alexander Gustafsson, who just happen to be some of the nastiest and toughest guys at the light heavyweight division. But I've got to give that advantage to to Glover Teixeira. When it comes to the footwork, I gotta give that to Anthony. Anthony, when you look at him, he kind of has that figure, that boxing figure. He kind of moves around like a boxer and kind of presents himself as a boxer with some of the way that he boxes in the octagon, and he's pretty precise with his movement and with his strikes at the same time. Glover also does have some pretty nice form, but he kind of just swings for it at times and gets himself lost, which is where he went wrong against Alexander Gustafsson, who happens to be a really good boxer of his own right. Alexander Gustafsson actually used to be really good back in the amateurs, and I believe he represented Sweden either in the World Champions or in the World Championships, or even in the Olympics for amateur boxing. And he's also faced many professional Swedish boxers and European boxers to help him out with one of his training camps. So he showed a lot of that when it came to fighting Teixeira, and Teixeira didn't really know how to counter that. And I believe he's going to face a lot of those issues when Glover faces Anthony Smith tomorrow. So I got to give the movement to Anthony Smith. When it comes to speed, I also have to give that to Anthony Smith, just because he is the younger guy. He is the leaner and the taller and the slimmer guy as well. And I believe he's going to use his speed and his movement to overwhelm Glover. So I believe one of Glover's keys to victory is just to try to catch up with Smith. Definitely cut the corners, and when he does throw some strikes, try to cut some angles, confuse Anthony Smith a little bit. That way you can have him second guessing, so he can be able to look for an opening and really throw one of those big strikes, big strikes in his arsenal. Whether it's going to be a hook or a back fist or anything like that. Another key to victory for Glover would be to try to go for the takedown and try to either beat Smith by ground and pound, or softening Smith up by ground and pound and trying to get his back or submit him on the top or on the bottom. Smith, I believe his keys to victory are going to be to try to knock Glover out on the feet. Also, when Glover comes in for a takedown, sprawl, get a crossface, or just try to stick a wizard in there, and even when they're clinched up against the cage, work the underhooks or even work the overhooks and try reverse, and whenever both men are in the body locks as well. But overall, I really think this is going to be a fantastic fight. It's a fantastic main card, and it's also a fantastic main event. There's also a couple of other good fights on this card as well. So I think it's going to be a solid fight night. I know things have been pretty crazy lately, especially with the coronavirus and Dana White and Hunter Campbell having to figure everything out with all these fighters, getting them in from their respective states over to Jacksonville, having them get tested on a daily basis, sending them all these different necessities such as portable saunas, nutrition snacks, packed foods, etc., etc. So I think things are going to go pretty well tomorrow. I'm happy to actually get more fights. Like I said, the last UFC fight card that went on was just a couple days ago on Saturday, UFC 249. Now we're back in UFC Jacksonville, still the same place, still the same arena. But it will be tomorrow, Wednesday. And I'm going to make another video before the fights tomorrow. And I'll give you guys the times as well. The times for the East Coast and the times for the West Coast, just so you guys are all on the same page. But I believe that the prelims and the main card will all be on ESPN Plus. Maybe they might be on the regular ESPN channel, but I currently do not know that. I don't have cable. I'm subscribed to ESPN Plus, so whenever they have it on there, I automatically know as fast as possible. But if it's something different, I will let you guys know tomorrow, because I will make another video before these fights do start tomorrow night. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I'll continue to put on more and more of them in the near future. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Stay safe and stay blessed.